The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 3 has a new premiere window, but that doesn't change the fact that this Prime Video series has been backed into a corner by Warner Bros. And HBO. It was previously reported that the third installment of the Lord of the Rings spin-off series wouldn't premiere until 2027, but it seems Prime Video has managed to shorten the timeline. The Hollywood Reporter recently revealed that Rings of Power Season 3 is expected to premiere sometime during the end of 2026. This is certainly good news, especially since Rings of Power Season 2 came to a close in 2024. A 2027 premiere would have been quite a stretch for Prime Video, given that other big fantasy franchises, like House of the Dragon, have consistently stuck with 2-year gaps between seasons. Rings of Power could have gotten away with making us wait if it was already rating well with viewers. Still, this series has been largely divisive and controversial, currently holding only a 48% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Amazon really can't afford delays. Still, moving things ahead to 2026 doesn't mean Rings of Power Season 3 is avoiding every obstacle. This new release window could be just as problematic as 2027 would have been. In fact, it might even cause Prime Video more trouble than if they had just stuck to their initial plan. After all, 2026 is a big year for the fantasy genre, especially as far as Warner Bros. Discovery is concerned. Warner Bros. Discovery has Rings of Power Season 3 surrounded by other fantasy releases. The news that Rings of Power is premiering Season 3 in 2026 instead of 2027 is rather familiar, since HBO made the same announcement regarding its Harry Potter TV show. The Warner Bros. Discovery subsidiary had previously stated that the series' first season wouldn't hit HBO Max until about the middle of 2027. Then, with the first Harry Potter trailer, it was revealed that the premiere would instead take place on Christmas Day, 2026. Interestingly, this is now around the same time that Rings of Power Season 3 should be running on Prime Video. Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings are two of the most beloved and recognizable fantasy franchises of all time, and they tend to share an audience base. This makes Rings of Power pitting itself against HBO's remake a pretty significant risk. Even if the Prime Video series premieres well before December, hype leading up to Harry Potter's premiere would likely pull away from Rings of Power's after-season social impact. Still, the company might have thought this was a safer bet than Rings of Power coming after Harry Potter, but it is still following up House of the Dragon Season 3, another Warner Bros. Discovery release. House of the Dragon and Harry Potter have Rings of Power boxed in 2026, but that's not all. Warner Bros. Discovery is also resurrecting its own Lord of the Rings film franchise. The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum is due to arrive in 2027, and this could also be a pretty big problem for Prime's own offering within the franchise. It really seems that, regardless of where Rings of Power turns, Warner Bros. Discovery is there to cause problems. An early 2027 premiere date might have been a safer bet for Rings of Power Season 3. At this point, Rings of Power is damned if it does and damned if it doesn't. However, Season 3 releasing near the end of the first quarter of 2027 would have created the most distance from other WBD releases. By that point, Harry Potter Season 1 would have just recently come to a close, so fantasy fans might be eager to turn to another series. House of the Dragon Season 3 would be long past its run, so Prime would have officially separated itself from the HBO series for the first time. The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum is expected to hit theaters on December 17, 2027, so creating distance with this film isn't so much an issue. Still, since this movie is technically in the same franchise as Rings of Power and will therefore cause critical comparisons regardless, Prime Video has to proceed with caution. Warner Bros. Lord of the Rings movies always release over the holiday season, and Hunt for Gollum is continuing the trend. Rings of Power would be better off distancing itself from that tradition entirely. Thus, that 2027 window would have been safer. Can Rings of Power possibly survive the war with Warner Bros.? Warner Bros. Discover has certainly left its mark on the fantasy genre. The company has been associated with Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings for decades now, and with the new TV show and films, that legacy is further solidified. Then, with the acquisition of HBO, WBD is now the man behind the curtain for Game of Thrones and its current spin-offs, House of the Dragon and A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, not to mention the upcoming Aegon the Conqueror movie and other planned TV shows. Said and done, does Prime Video's Rings of Power really stand a chance? All of these factors are likely why Prime Video has invested so much in Rings of Power. This is the most expensive fantasy TV show of all time, and perhaps it has to be to have any sort of chance against its competitors. Unfortunately, it has, so far, not been enough to make Rings of Power stand out from the pack. A carefully selected release schedule could make a difference, but Amazon will have to produce something truly exceptional with its next installment. Perhaps a 2026 premiere means that Prime is confident that Rings of Power Season 3 will be great. Or, it could just be a sign that the company is rushing ahead with a half-baked product. Regardless, there is still time for this Lord of the Rings TV show to turn things around and leave its own sort of mark. Whether that mark will ever match that of its fantasy competitors remains to be seen.